If you can hear this, let me know. And if you can't hear it, I don't know, try and let me know that you can't hear it. Can you hear me? What we do on Monday mornings at tea time is have a look at the news for social media, focusing on Australia, because there's quite a bit available overseas, but we do have stuff happening here in Australia as well. And it's always been of interest to me to see how Australia is treated by the social media companies. And sometimes Australia is the legit, like, first to market with things. So, for instance, with MSN, I don't know if you remember MSN, Microsoft Networks, years ago. It was originally rolled out here in Australia. In fact, I was one of the first moderators on that network. It was sort of MySpace before MySpace, or forums and online bulletin boards and things like that. And yeah, it's, by the way, no green screen today. And it's because I'm lazy. So I will put the green screen up again for tutorials. But for today, just because it's a news thing, I'm going to show you news stuff. I think this should be fine. Let me know if you're hearing me okay. Also, if you can hear any background noise, or if I'm too quiet as well. I've moved the mic into shot so that we can try and reduce background sounds, but I guess a truck will go past and that'll kill it anyway. All right, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is go to Facebook Australia, and they've announced that it's World Tourism Day and that they're working on, was it yesterday, they're working with the tourism sector, which of course has been massively hit by both the bushfires and then by COVID-19. What I do here is I'm finding out the news at the same time you are. So I'm picking up bits and pieces that I think are interesting, or maybe not. We find out when we dig in. So they're showcasing Splitters Farm from Bundaberg, Catherine Outback Experience in the Northern Territory, the Margaret River Wine and Adventures. It was funny because until the bushfires, I was running Instagram and wine workshops where companies would come with me to a winery and they would learn about Instagram, and then we would run around and choose beauty spots to actually learn the photography side. You can imagine what's happened to that. Global ballooning. I don't like heights, sorry. Oh, Mudgee. So I've done a lot of work in Mudgee. I go out there a couple of times a year to run WordPress and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram workshops. Mona in Tassie. I think I've done some work with them. And Discovery Parks. No, I've worked with other parks. So, yeah, they're good on them. I mean, this is part of what my Bush Social program is about, is getting rural Australia, small businesses, medium businesses into social media to prepare content-wise for when they can start to do promotions again. So I'm glad Facebook's doing that. Keep up the good work, Facebook. My birthday. I always read the comments. Please can you reset the comments on live feeds and put it back down the bottom of the screen? The side comments section is so bloody annoying. Yeah, this is an agency that's handling this. I don't think you've got any luck there, mate. And it's the rollout of version 5. So if I look over to the other screen, I'm checking comments. I don't have that much of a problem with attention. I actually have to shift from one screen to another. So let's keep going. What else does Facebook Australia have for us? The Schooling from Home Australia Curriculum Support, Parent Support, E-Learning Facebook Group. Wow, that's a mouthful. provides a space for parents to access free education, one of the many groups we are supporting through the Facebook. Why aren't they linking to them? They didn't do it in the comments either. Can somebody please contact me? Yeah. And then there's a video. All right. So again, Facebook Australia is actually run by an agency. Well, I know that the marketing APAC pages, a few of the Facebook pages are. So what we need to do here is, this is the name of the group. I just don't trust the name that they've got here. And then I put in here, link here for those. I don't know why they didn't. They should at least know how to link. Link here for those interested parties. And then and then type that in. Can't type it all in, so we're going to have to do schooling from home. What was it called? Australia curriculum. I just had it up before. Schooling from home Australia curriculum. Now, interesting, because I was able to link to it. I wonder if it's case sensitive now. Schooling from home. Well, there you go. That's a problem. That's why they're not linking to it, because it's not coming up. There's a whole lot of reasons why that can happen. The fact that it came up earlier when I was looking at this is, but I didn't actually ask to join the group. If you join the group, then usually you can link to a group. But Facebook, that's your technology. If it's timing out when it's supposed to be finding this stuff, then, you know, that's really is a problem. Curriculum. No, not going to do it. Okay, well, we're not going to leave the comment then. What we can do, however, is copy the link and paste that in, which they also, to be honest, could have done in the first comment. Not helpful. The admin might come back and do that anyway, but there you go. So it's a private group. One admin? Always check the group rules. It's interesting to see how they're written up. Sometimes they're, let me come back to here. Sometimes they're developed by admins who've done a lot of work and have done a lot of research, and I've seen other ones that are very, very strange. And I kind of want to go, who wrote this for you? Like, they'll say no swearing, then they swear. Maybe they're being funny. Maybe that's what it's about. But it's not supposed, the one I saw wasn't supposed to be funny. So there you go. I have no idea. Let's keep going. Just checking that we're still live. It looks like we're still live. Okay. How many Facebook groups do you belong to? I've been going through lately and unlinking myself from them, because there was a phase when everybody found out that Facebook let you add your friends to groups, and so everybody went mad adding all their friends to groups. And so I ended up in knitting and crochet groups and horse riding groups and all kinds of things that my friends enjoyed and they thought I would enjoy. And of course that was a bit of an issue. Just checking here. Good. Okay. What else do we have here? So I'm a bit slow today. It's Monday. What do you think? Oh, let's have a look. This is not strictly Australia. Nathaniel Gleicher, Head of Security Policy, have removed 2 separate networks for violating the policy against inauthentic behaviour, CIB. Got to add that acronym to my little book, because there'll always be someone in the class that will ask me, what do I think of the policies on CIB? And I'll be like, so at least if it's in the book, I can say it's in my book. Earlier this year, we started publishing regular CIB reports where we share information about the networks we've taken down. We found 155 accounts. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. 11 pages, 9 groups, and 6 Instagram accounts for violating our policy against foreign or government interference, which is a coordinated, inauthentic behaviour. What chance do politicians have, and parties, when they can barely manage to have an engaging Instagram account that's not just full of photos of them shaking hands with people, when there is such a strong movement to, I guess, interfere? And I find it interesting that anti-consumers do a better job of giving bad reviews to a company than a fully fleshed out marketing department does of trying to give a good, a perfect branding in the perfect marketplace. And I just don't think that when there's a volume coming against you that there's much that you can do except be on the top of your game. And so years ago I was asked about, what's the return on investment of marketing dollar and PR dollar in social media, and I'm the ROI, and I'm like, you need to look at the COI. What's the cost of inaction of you not having a presence? And what I would say is the cost is you end up with little groups of people who create 155 accounts, 11 pages, 9 groups, and 6 Instagram accounts, which, by the way, is not a lot. And they are organized. And when I say they, it may only be a few people. It may only be smaller than your marketing and media team. But my goodness, are they organized, and they know how to leverage links in, links out, the SEO, FBO, Facebook optimization, Instagram optimization. They know how to leverage the social graph, the algorithm data sets, and everybody else is running around like chickens with their heads cut off, not sure what's going on. So let's keep going, because it's Monday morning and I'm going to have a coffee when we've done this. So that's my reward. I've already had one coffee, but I've been up since early hours this morning before dawn. I usually am, but really early. You didn't need to know that. Some of this network's pages were previously removed for violating our inauthentic behavior and spam policies. So how did they come back? And they were posting about South China Sea, including the US Navy ships. Whoa, Southeast Asia. Content supportive of President Rodrigo Duterte. You can tell I'm not a real news reader. I would have practiced the names. Potential run in 2020. They posted content both in support of and against presidential candidates. Oh, why would they do both? There is something in the algorithm which is around sentiment analysis. So not a lot of people maybe have dug into this, but in the semantic engine that the algorithm uses, which is basically keyword clusters, if people are mentioning Trump and re-sharing Trump, then they're interested in politics, therefore you should show them stuff. There's something in the sentiment analysis. I don't think it's part of deep text. It must be one of the other parts of the algorithm. But they did a study and they discovered that people interact with controversial things and things they disagree with more than with things they do agree with. If they agree with something, they click like. So if you see something you agree with, you click like. If you see good news, you click like. And if you see positive messages to and from family, then you click like. If you see something you disagree with, you have to argue. You don't just give an unhappy face or an angry face emoticon, but you have to leave a comment, you have to correct the person, and then they have to correct you, and then you have to go back and correct them again. And it's all on for young and old. And the problem is, not the problem, but the fact is that the algorithm is learning that the more you disagree with this person on this topic, the more you should see, because the longer you stay on the platform. So when you hear press saying that everything on social media is me media, and it's a bubble of people that you agree with, it's actually the opposite. And I can point to the research papers that show that the algorithm has learned that we argue. So here's a tip for you. Don't argue with the idiots on Facebook. Just ignore them. Keep moving. Fool the algorithm into thinking that you're not seething inside. Because, in fact, that's good for life. Don't stick around and argue unless it's absolutely critical. I do, because I do it for the invisible audience, the people who maybe haven't thought about my side, but I would never say that I was completely right, and I don't tend to come back to keep pushing the point. That's just rude. Back to here. Do you like my red background? Like I said, I couldn't be bothered putting up the green screen today. So, what do we have here? I'm just checking. Yep, we're good. About 133,000 accounts followed one or more of the pages. Around 61,000 people joined the groups. And about 150 accounts followed one or more of these Instagram accounts. And about $60 spent in Chinese yuan. That's so interesting. Someone should hire these people. There's a couple boys in New Zealand that do this, the anti of this, for major politicians. Two brothers, I think they are. No, they're not brothers. But they run a little agency that does the equivalent of this, but for politicians to sway audiences. And I've also seen large agencies do something similar with lots and lots of accounts and misdirects and groups. Like one was called Clean Energy, but it was actually for a campaign for a mining company. So there's a lot of this sort of, what would you call it? They're calling it, what was it? CIB. See, I do learn. I'm not that slow. Coordinated inauthentic behavior. So there is coordinated inauthentic behavior on the part of agencies as well. And what did it used to be called? Grass rooting. Oh, my brains. I need that coffee. Where are we? Let's keep going. All right. And then blog. So the Australian Twitter page, that annoys me. They don't have an RSS feed. They don't understand social distribution. You pretty well have to go and follow the Twitter account on Twitter to get the news, which is not necessarily where people who distribute news live. And they've done one post in March, one post in July, one post in August. For those of you that are watching from overseas, our platforms in Australia, which I was alluding to at the beginning, are very focused on sports because it's the Australian, supposed to be the Australian thing. Sport has long been synonymous with Australian culture, from the Aussie, oi, 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 to the lasting legacy of the 2000 Sydney Olympics. Okay, so Australian culture, according to Twitter, is Aussie, oi, 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 which is buffet hooligan stuff to the lasting legacy from 20 years ago. I guess nothing's happened since then. It's looking to Twitter as Aussie's new local pub. Yes, sports people use Twitter. Sports clubs use Twitter, but you know what else they use and that's super popular? And this should be a shot for Twitter. They use TikTok. In fact, the Aussie footy clubs are the most active on TikTok that I've been able to find out of Australian brands. So Instagram Reels is like TikTok, but TikTok is very goofy and fun, whereas Instagram tends to be full of pouty, be your better self type of imagery. TikTok is people dancing and skiving off and doing silly things. Twitter has to keep reminding the sports clubs that they are the platform of choice, which I actually disagree. I think Twitter is really political. The hashtag #OzPoll is the most, or was, when last time I spoke to Twitter, which was years ago, was the most active hashtag on Twitter. And it's political, and it's Australian. And given that we're supposed to be so laid back and the lucky country, it's interesting to me that we're the most active politically. So Q&A, OzPoll, Spring Street, QLD poll, NSW poll, all of those hashtags are really active on politics. But Twitter will keep pushing that sports. They're a sports platform. Don't ask me why. I have no idea who's in charge of marketing for Twitter these days. Let's keep going. So Twitter Australia, UN Youth Envoy, Twitter for government. Oh, debate between Jacinda Ardern and Judith Collins. So what have we got here? We've got youth, we've got politics, and then we've got sports, wheelchair sports, so disabilities as well, or abilities. First language, Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander languages, Maupan, and the Milky Way in Kuku-Yalanji. So the Milky Way is also called the emu something. And then lots of language things. I'm off the news part because I'm interested to see what they consider to be news. My problem with this is that it's not the right content to the right audience. It's any old content, interesting content. For some of it's interesting, sports not, but the rest of it is for me. But some people will be interested in sports and won't be interested in first language, and nobody can force them to be. So they should. But this one channel fits all doesn't work on any platform, including Twitter. And what else do we have for today? Do you have any news for me? Let me know in the comments if you do. Just going to go and have a look at let's have a look at LinkedIn. So blog.linkedin, which I just can't get to at the moment. I don't know why it's not loading, but blog.linkedin. Is it .com? Yeah. A new look and feel for LinkedIn. Then he just changed it. Wasn't 5 years ago. Was it? Was it 5 years ago? 700 million professionals, most of them SEO and recruitment. Redesigning it. Are you watching this on LinkedIn? Are you watching me on LinkedIn? Is there a dark mode? Obviously not. It looks a bit odd to me. Is it the app? Maybe that's the app. You can start a video call over Teams, Blue Jeans by Verizon, or Zoom directly from a message thread. They need to explain that a bit more. How about security? Search. Is that part of the paid? Is that part of the paid experience? Search used to be free, and then they moved it under Sales Navigator or one of the other accounts. Then they moved it under another account, and now I use a plugin to do the search because it gets too confusing. And when I'm teaching, I can't switch between the different paid accounts easily. So if somebody says I'm on this kind of an account and I'm mentoring them through LinkedIn, I don't want to have all the different accounts. I think they've actually streamlined it now to only 3 different kind of paid accounts. Just a little bit of a whinge because search is a big part of what you need. Let me hide me. You don't need to see me. We know what I look like. Right. Thank you. Love your background, Laurel. Forget about the green screen if you can have this. Yeah, but I have to tidy it up. So let's keep going. Keep it tidy. Tidying it's one thing. Keeping it tidy is another. We've seen a 15% increase in searches globally over the last 6 months. Well, that's interesting because LinkedIn has only had an increase of about 3 to 5% in actual usage. I looked at I think it was Google Analytics for how different sites are being used. And TikTok was like 50% up. It's massive. LinkedIn was only a few percent. So go away with your thingy. So what is this for? What type of let me just go back to here. Is this the paid one or the unpaid? If you're on LinkedIn, do you pay? Do you have a bought account? You can see a lot more and you can search at a much more granular level. Well, you used to be able to, but maybe they're including it for everybody now. And then they're not going to tell us. No. Okay. What else do we have here under LinkedIn? So we're getting a new layout, a new look and feel, new LinkedIn messaging. So I'm going to go off and have a coffee in a sec. Sorry, I've got to stay close to the mic because I've dropped the sound a little bit because I'm trying to get rid of background sounds. LinkedIn average age 10 years ago was 45, which means the average age now is 55. There's quite a lot in the 60s. So as LinkedIn is heading towards retirement, they're having that aging psychographic that I think news and some of the newspapers have, where they're really, really important to retirees and people who are at the top of their game but exiting. So maybe CEOs, maybe directors of companies. So about 5 or 6 years ago, I was teaching LinkedIn at the University of Sydney at the time, and I noticed that they shifted a whole lot to graduate stuff. I'm yawning because it's Monday morning and I need another coffee. They shifted to graduate stuff, and that meant that they were going out to colleges and universities, and they were there at the open days, and they had a stand, and they were talking, and they were working extremely hard to get this influx of youth. Secondary to that, I noticed, because I was working with not-for-profits at the time, big global not-for-profits, that they opened up a whole volunteer and not-for-profit section on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has gone from like being older established people to also youthful graduates and also volunteer work and NFPs. The other one that came out of some research working with some telcos in Asia is that while the local networks like WeChat and Qcoin, what's that? Qcoin, something like that. While the local networks in Japan, in China, are extremely popular, particularly for Asian families that are disparate, that are working and living at a distance. So they leave their village and go and work in the big cities. And for instance, I think in China, they're only allowed to go home once a year, or they have to get a pass. And there's a whole way. The culture's very different. A lot of the professionals have a LinkedIn profile because then they're available for work with overseas companies, American companies, UK companies, French, Australian, coming into Hong Kong and Singapore and Tokyo. And they have a profile there that's then in English that explains who they are and what they do. So it's very popular with non-English speaking professionals in Southeast Asia, Middle Asia, Far East, etc. And I always like to explore how a community starts off, like for instance, Facebook was for university graduates and eventually became a family kind of platform. I like to see how they build and grow their network by using separate psychographics and separate channels to talk to those psychographics. One of the reasons I was pointing out that Twitter Australia is kind of faffing it up with having sports on there, and then having local languages, and then having wheelchair sports, and then having political debates, and having it all on the same channel, is that it's not really a commitment to growing a massive channel by having separate segments, segmented marketing, target marketing, whatever you want to call it. Nothing new there. But that idea that you do create these sort of satellite sites or satellite services for volunteers, for job seekers, for graduates, and so on, to make sure that as the other group, what we call the elders, are moving out, then there's new fresh blood coming in. Right, I'm not sure this one's going to work because I forgot to test it. Oh, no, it doesn't work. Let me try this one then. Maybe that will work. I don't know. That's my... Oh, no, that's not my contact details. Forget about it. You guys can get excited about talking to me another time anyway, and you know where to find me, laurelpapworth.com. I'm doing some I'm doing some group tutorials starting in October, and we're only going to have small groups, and I set homework, and then we choose a theme. So we choose social media analytics, we choose social media advertising, we choose social media content creation and programming guides, and each block will have introductory lecture, homework, and live tutorials where you join me and we go through things so that you can learn, I guess, how to apply it to your exact situation and then put the feedback into the group. This is not suitable for those organizations that are already booking, blah, blah with me and have got Zoom sessions and I don't know what else going on. This is really for people who say that they don't mind working in a group and they want some group activities and they're waiting for the classrooms to come back in, which I think my next actual Sydney CBD in a class is not until the end of November. And I'm hoping then that everything will be settled so I can do my stuff then. I'm saying I'm a lot. I think it's because I'm trying to think of the last couple of things I wanted to say to you before I log off. I think that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention today. If you are just logging in now, you can always bookmark this and come back and watch it later. You can put it on a favorites list. I have it on a YouTube playlist and a Facebook video. What do they call them? Not playlist. I think it's called an album. So that you can see the other ones and you can watch this at another time as well if you want. I am going to, as always, love you and leave you. And I will see you in a few days with the next session, which will be an actual tutorial on how to do something, and I haven't decided what it is yet. So let me know if there's anything in particular that you would like to see. Thank you and have a lovely